13 months ago, Elon Musk called the moon a distraction. On February 8, 2026, he announced SpaceX was building a city on it. Not a base, not a research outpost, a self-growing city. Robots first, humans second, operational in under a decade. One pivot, one timeline. One very large question about whether any of it is actually possible. SpaceX was built around one destination, Mars. For over 2 decades, every rocket, every technology, and every public statement was framed around getting humans to the red planet. Then, in February 2026, Elon Musk announced that SpaceX was shifting its primary focus to the moon. Not for a visit, not for a research outpost, but for what he called a self-growing city on the lunar surface. That phrase, self-growing, is not marketing language. It describes a specific construction strategy involving autonomous robots, on-site manufacturing, and infrastructure that expands without humans present in the early stages. Understanding what SpaceX actually means by it changes how seriously you take the 10-year timeline. The reasoning behind the pivot is practical, and it comes down to one number. But before that number makes sense, it helps to understand exactly what SpaceX has already committed to putting on the moon, and how much of it is already under contract. 5 years before Musk posted about a lunar city, NASA handed SpaceX a contract that made one possible. In April 2021, NASA selected SpaceX to build the human landing system for its Artemis program, the vehicle that would carry the astronauts from lunar orbit down to the surface. That vehicle is a specialized variant of Starship called Starship HLS, and the original contract was valued at $2.89 billion. Starship HLS stands roughly 50 meters tall, about the height of a 15-story building, and includes an elevator system to move crew and cargo between the lander and the lunar surface. Here is the part that sounds wrong until you understand why it works. To get Starship HLS to the moon, SpaceX needs to launch 10 or more separate tanker rockets just to fuel the lander in orbit before it departs. Think of it like driving cross-country in a vehicle that can't carry enough fuel to make the trip, so you send a convoy of fuel trucks ahead to meet you on the highway. That process, called orbital refueling, has never been completed ship to ship at full scale, and the milestone required before NASA's critical design review has not been completed as of early 2026. And that delay has consequences. In October 2025, NASA opened the Artemis landing contract to competition. Blue Origin's Blue Moon lander is now a direct competitor for the mission that was supposed to be SpaceX's alone. That competition changes the calculus, but it doesn't change the vehicle. Because whether SpaceX lands the Artemis contract or not, everything about the Lunar City plan still runs through one rocket. Starship is the largest and most powerful rocket ever built. The current Block 2 configuration stands 123 meters tall, roughly the height of a 40-story building, and produces approximately twice the thrust of NASA's Saturn V, the rocket that carried Apollo astronauts to the moon. But raw power isn't what makes Starship the centerpiece of a Lunar City plan. The part that actually matters is what happens after launch. Both the Starship upper stage and the Super Heavy booster are designed to return to the launch site and fly again with minimal turnaround. In October 2024, during Flight 5, SpaceX caught the Super Heavy booster in the arms of the launch tower on its way back down. A rocket the size of a skyscraper flying itself home and landing in a metal cradle. That was not a stunt. That was the core economic argument for everything that follows. The reason a lunar city has never been built is not engineering. It is cost. Launching materials from Earth is so expensive that any permanent structure on the moon becomes financially impossible before the first foundation is laid. Starship's entire design, large, reusable, high frequency, exists to collapse that cost low enough that building on the moon stops being absurd. As of March 2026, Starship has completed 11 test flights, all suborbital. Orbital flight and ship-to-ship propellant transfer Both remain undemonstrated. The rocket that is supposed to make a lunar city possible has not yet reached orbit. That gap between ambition and current capability is exactly what the plan for the city has to account for. Musk called it a self-growing city. Here is what self-growing actually means in engineering terms. The plan does not start with humans. It starts with robots. Before any astronaut sets foot on the surface for an extended stay, SpaceX's vision calls for autonomous machines and AI-driven construction systems to arrive first, building roads, landing pads, and radiation shielding using materials already on the moon. No supply ships, no construction crews. The infrastructure builds itself. The materials those robots work with comes from the surface. Lunar soil can be processed into construction material. Water ice trapped in permanently shadowed craters near the South Pole, confirmed by NASA and accumulated over billions of years, can be purified for life support or split into hydrogen and oxygen to make rocket propellant on site. The moon is not just a destination, it is a quarry. That process has a name: In Situ Resource Utilization, or ISRU. Think of it this way: ship every brick from Earth or build the kiln there and make them on site. It is the single concept that determines whether a lunar city is economically possible or permanently out of reach. SpaceX's first uncrewed Starship lunar landing is targeted for as early as March 2027. But here is the part of this plan that almost nobody is talking about yet. Musk has outlined a vision in which the moon becomes a manufacturing platform, not just for surface habitats, but for satellites, solar cells, radiators, and eventually space-based data centers powered by lunar solar energy. The moon's low gravity makes it dramatically cheaper to launch manufactured products into space than launching them from Earth. A city on the moon in this framing is not the end point. It is the factory floor for everything that comes after it. That ambition assumes the engineering works, and the engineering has problems. The ambition is clear. The obstacles are not small. Start with radiation. Earth has a magnetic field that deflects high-energy particles from the sun and from deep space. The moon does not. A human standing on the lunar surface without shielding would exceed safe lifetime radiation limits within months. The solutions: burying habitats under meters of lunar soil, constructing inside confirmed lava tubes beneath the surface, or developing active shielding technology that does not yet exist at operational scale. All require infrastructure that has yet to be built before humans arrive in significant numbers. Temperature is a separate problem entirely. In direct sunlight, the lunar surface reaches over 120 degrees Celsius. During the 14-day lunar night, it drops below minus 130 degrees. That is a swing of 250 degrees across a 2-week cycle, wider than the difference between boiling water and the interior of a household freezer, repeated indefinitely. Any structure designed for permanent occupation has to survive that without failure. Then there is ISRU. The entire economic case for a lunar city depends on manufacturing construction materials and propellant from resources already on the moon. Oxygen extraction has been demonstrated in controlled settings. Lunar-scale ISRU is a different order of magnitude. The kiln has to be built before anyone knows if it actually runs, and underneath all of it sits the timeline problem. Starship has completed 11 test flights and has not yet reached orbit. Orbital refueling, required for every crewed lunar mission, remains undemonstrated. Musk has stated a lunar city is possible in under 10 years. Independent analysts have consistently documented that his major milestone projections have slipped by years. That is not an attack on the ambition. It is the most relevant data point for evaluating whether 10 years means 10 years, which raises the question of why SpaceX is moving on this timeline at all, and who else is racing toward the same location. SpaceX did not pivot to the moon in a vacuum. It pivoted into a race that is already underway. China has been executing a methodical lunar program for years, landing on the far side of the moon, returning lunar samples, and retrieving material from the South Pole region across missions that have progressively expanded its capability. China has publicly stated a goal of landing taikonauts on the lunar surface before 2030 and has announced plans for a permanent research station at the South Pole in cooperation with Russia. The South Pole, the same location SpaceX is targeting, the same water ice deposits, the same resource base that makes a permanent presence economically viable. There is no neutral outcome here. Whoever establishes infrastructure at the lunar South Pole first gains a structural advantage in access to the most valuable real estate beyond Earth's atmosphere: the propellant source, the construction material, the platform for everything that follows. This is not speculation. It is the reason every major space program on the planet is pointing at the same crater. NASA is moving too, with a crewed lunar landing targeted for early 2028. But NASA's timeline is about return. SpaceX's is about something different. A vision that does not end with a flag and a sample bag, but with a city that manufactures its own materials, fuels its own rockets, and expands without waiting for the next budget cycle. No organization, government, or company has ever built a city on the moon. No one has demonstrated reliable orbital refueling at scale, autonomous surface construction, or closed-loop life support beyond controlled experiments. The full chain of technology required, from the first uncrewed landing to the first self-sustaining habitat, has never been completed by anyone, anywhere. What SpaceX has is a rocket that is not yet orbital, a landing contract now under competition, a founder who has publicly committed to a 10-year timeline, and a track record of building things previously considered impossible, alongside a separate track record of missing the dates attached to those things by years. That tension between genuine capability and stated timeline is the only honest way to read the February 2026 announcement. SpaceX has earned the right to be taken seriously. It has not yet earned the right to be taken literally. What is clear is this: the moon is no longer a symbol or a memory. The South Pole is a resource depot that 3 separate programs are now racing to reach. The robots are being designed, the rockets are being tested, and for the first time since the last Apollo astronaut left the surface in December 1972, the moon is a construction site. Whether the city exists in 10 years or 20 or longer, the building has already started.